What up, guys? This is Pete, aka Characters, and welcome back to the Carrot Poker Podcast, the podcast in which I rant a lot and sometimes bring students onto the show. Today's one of the days where it's not just going to be me ranting because I've got my good friend and student Elliot here with me. How's it going, man?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Yeah, very good.
Good stuff. So today we're going to talk a little bit about you because that's more interesting than talking about me because I'm always talking about me. So what's been going on with you and your poker career?
So we did the Red Line series, I think like 9 months ago in Grinder School.
Yeah.
And from that point onwards, my game has just rocketed really. And I've had a very, very good 9 months, a very good last 3 months. So I restarted from 10-0 and moved all the way up to 25 over those 9 months. And now I had a go at shotting 50.
Nice. Cool.
So I got my bankroll up to 50 buy-ins for 50-0, all the way from a very meager buy-in for 10-0.
Awesome. So, that's like the point when you start to realize that you're not just playing for like being able to buy a packet of crisps anymore, but like you win a pot and you're like, wow, that's like a nice meal I just won.
Exactly. So it's funny because I never really spend the money. I just gamble the money. But
it's just like when I hoard a big pile of gambling tokens for more gambling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was really just to speak about my experiences at 50-0 and how quite different it is from all the other levels, really, I would say.
Yep. So what did you notice as like the main differences from 25?
So there's a few things. There's not as many fish at all. And to actually get position on the fish is really difficult because it's sort of where most people are sort of playing professionally, especially from Eastern Europe. So they are just auto seat scripting, and it's just really, really hard to get any action with the fish. And then the general reg level is a lot better.
Yeah.
So I reckon I'm in the top 80% at 25, but then I'm in the top 50 or in the middle of the road at 50-0.
Yeah.
So it's kind of I basically broke even over 8K, which is not a massive sample, but when you're playing regular tables, it's still time adding up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So and I found like some of the really, really tough regs would they had a really like good 4-bet, 5-bet strategy, so you couldn't 4-bet light often. You were just sort of lost of what to do against these people because they were, in a sense, well balanced.
Okay, well, I mean, if they're well balanced or you suspect they are, just start off well balanced yourself and you won't really go too wrong. I mean, the most important thing, like you'll see the really bad regs at 25 and 50, like the micro stakes reg generally who tries to be aggressive, a bit less so these days, but in the past has normally been the kind of guy who like will just flip out and suddenly just be like 5-betting everything or 4-betting everything. And that's quite easy to counter. So you're probably used to, from 25 and out, the more aggro regs just being like face up as ridiculously bluff heavy in a lot of spots, and you can just counter it with an exploitative strategy, right?
Yeah, I think so. And so a lot of players are more reserved, and they've already worked out their counter strategy.
Right, so they've created ranges that are already balanced. So you've just got to start off balanced yourself against these players and see more often than not, although it may appear that they're playing quite well, you will see things that sort of give away the game, that they're unbalanced, and you will see them over larger samples, like their 4-bet bluff range is way too light, or that they don't 5-bet jam enough or something. Like when you get more data on these guys, you should find that they're not as balanced as they first seem. A lot of them anyway. Some of them will be playing quite well, but a lot of them won't be, and they won't, especially post-flop. It's much harder post-flop to balance your strategies and stuff, and you should find a lot more imbalances to attack there. But just stay reserved. Do the work off the tables. That's the most important thing, I'd say, in these higher stakes games where the regs are better. And then stay in your snug little game that you've pre-designed before you step out and start trying to smash them exploitatively speaking. How much work have you been kind of doing off the tables on your game?
So I would say some. I spend a lot of time on the forum, and I kind of sit and work out other people's hands. And then I go through my Hold'em manager like more or less every day and review hands. But what I haven't done for a long time is work on, say, like a range for a specific spot. But I'm sort of honing them as I go through hands.
Yeah.
So it's not sat down and build a range. It's more work out what I do in each spot. I think the more and more I answer hands on the forum, the better I've got actually. So
Yeah, you've done a lot of that. You've probably like set the world record on the Carrot Corner forum for like most posts in other people's threads. I think you need like a badge for that, like in the next
yeah,
season of Carrot Corner.
yeah. Well, I've got it on my phone, so as soon as it goes off, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a little
Yeah,
problem to
yeah,
solve.
definitely. You know, you and the other mods on there have been doing a good job of helping the newer students and stuff, which is always cool because on the corner, like we always get new people in, and it's good to have the more experienced posters there to set them straight, and it helps your own game, like you say. But what I would do is just make sure in like the most common spots you're getting into that you're not just thinking about your hand in the vacuum, that you are actually plotting out a strategy. You said something really interesting to me earlier before we started recording this podcast, which was that you feel like you've also started playing Zoom recently, right? And you were
Yeah,
saying that the why don't you reiterate actually your point about what that feels like playing Zoom compared to regular tables, if you remember what I'm getting at?
yeah, no, totally. So with Zoom, it's almost like you have a predetermined game strategy, and you just sort of let it unfold in front of you, and you just you don't constantly play the same way. You are changing how you play per table, but the table changes all the time. Yeah, so you just see your strategy that you've already pre-worked out just happen in front of you, and
Yeah.
it's doing really well. It's working well, I would say.
It's a bit like going away and creating like a computer program and then just pressing go
Exactly.
and then watching
Exactly.
it do it, but it's just the computer program happens inside your head.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're a programmer by trade, so you should be. Are you?
No, I'm not a programmer.
Damn it! I'm sure you're a programmer.
I do visual effects on TV.
That's right.
commercials.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that kind of thing, it is that kind of pre-planning and making things work along the same line. So
yeah. I have so many students that are programmers, honestly, in poker. It's weird. It's a strange correlation there. So I kind of like forgot for a minute that you were the cool advertising effects guy. It's much better. No offense to any programmers out there, but you know. Any case, these kind of professions are definitely good for building this kind of logical code and, you know, putting things into different forms, like putting the ideas and the things you learn about poker into the form of your game and the plays that you make on a regular basis. You know, it's all about coding and encoding, decoding, that kind of thing. So,
like half of me would love to have my strategy and then me not even playing, you know, I know it's not going to happen, but have like a bot that would just play my strategy, and then I get feedback, say 100,000 hands, and I go, okay, now tweak this and just let it run again.
Well, I mean, people do it. I mean, it's illegal, obviously, but people, and it's against the terms and conditions of most poker sites, but people try it. It's just that poker is such a human game that you can create a bot that plays pretty well GTO, probably, but then how epically is it going to fail to exploit people in the light of like obviously exploitative data? That's probably the harder part, is to make it an exploitatively sound system, because you know a solid framework and balanced ranges will get you so far, but they're not going to let you beat the games after the rake, because you just need to be exploiting players to do that. Like plain and simple, you have to be good exploitatively as well. So you know, you could, might be another project for another day, would be building a, you could build a robot, man. Then it wouldn't technically be a program. You could build an actual robot that sat there and pressed the mouse and stuff. Maybe that's kind of more legal. Who knows?
Yeah, possibly.
It could even have like your face and stuff. It could be like almost Elliot, but just a robot.
That's it.
Cool. So, what else have you found about Zoom then? Do you like it better than?
I think it's because I haven't played Zoom for a long time, so I'm actually just enjoying the novelty of it.
Yeah.
But I think the player pool is weaker at Zoom.
Yeah, I think a lot of fish are starting to switch to Zoom because Zoom poker is becoming such a huge thing these days that people look at the regular tables and they're used to playing Zoom, and after they've tried it out one or two times, they're just like, no way, man, screw this. I'm not going to sit and wait on a waiting list or sit at this table and worry about who I'm playing with. I'm just going to jump in the Zoom pool and get instant action. It's like a total junky fix. They just get it straight away. So I think the fish are starting to gravitate away from Zoom now. It used to, away from regular tables. It used to be that Zoom was reg infested because it suited all the regs, but these days Zoom suits the fish as well. And I'm finding the 50NL Zoom pool, 100NL Zoom pools are way more fishy than they were when Zoom first came out, which is really good for online poker. Even at times of the day when, you know, Tuesday afternoons, you wouldn't think they'd be that fishy. That's where the fish are going, because as the regular tables in the lobby kind of all block up and there are no free tables, fish don't want to sit on a waiting list when they can have an instant hand of poker. They're there to have fun, you know. So Zoom's a great thing for that, as long as we pay attention and, you know, work a bit harder to get our exploitative reads, because we do have smaller samples and we need better stat interpretation skills for it, I suppose.
I think to play Zoom, you have to have a really good solid foundation of player type and population read and how to abuse a certain table. You have to quickly look at the stats of the table and
Yeah.
go, right, okay, I can open this hand.
Right.
But if it came round again, then I can't open this hand because there's an aggressive regular and they're going to 3-bet me. So
Right.
you have to be like switched on, and they say changing gears. We have to change gears constantly at Zoom to exploit that
And
game
what I
properly.
think is a very interesting Zoom concept as well. It's not just being able to adjust your game on every table, it's being able to do it really, really quickly so that when you're fast folding, you can do it straight away. Because you make money by fast folding quickly in Zoom. It's not like regular tables, you have to sit and wait anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You might increase your speed a little bit in a regular table by acting quickly, but you increase your hands per hour massively in Zoom just by, if I'm four tabling Zoom, I'm just like fast fold, fast fold, fast fold instantly as soon as I know I'm doing it. And sometimes that might land you in some spots where you're doing a few things at once. It can be tricky with a fast-paced time bank, but at the end of the day, if you can increase your speed by like 10%, you're increasing your hourly by close to 10% as well. So It's well worth hitting that fast fold button as quickly as possible. And the more you ingrain your game and like you get your solid thought processes pre-made, like the faster you can do that too, and the more volume you can play. Because let's face it, Zoom's all about modest win rates at very high volume.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird because I've only just sort of come around to it's from because I think you could still play 10 an L to 25 an L on regular tables and make loads of money because there will be fish there.
Yeah.
And you can actually get position on it. I just from going to 50, it was just hard to even get a table.
Yeah.
So it's just I think that's where the crossover point is.
That's why I switched as well. I mean, I found it like 100 no limit trying to sit and start tables and hope that fish join. It's the same view bum hunting regs, joining instantly as soon as you start a table. As soon as there's one fish, there's 4 regs there and there's no more fish. Like, the games are drying, the regular games are drying up on the internet. That's the way it's going in Zoom. At first, it was kind of like this gambling form of poker, and I didn't like it because I honestly felt the win rates were so low there that you couldn't beat rake, but you can beat rake. People have proven it's possible. You can do it when you learn, your default ranges and stuff. I've had students succeed at Zoom. I've succeeded at Zoom myself now. And yeah, it's lucrative. It's kind of rejuvenating online poker a little bit, I think, because we were stuck in that kind of bum hunting, drought for a while, if you like. And this is a breath of fresh air, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So
there's tons of nits on there as well. There's so many nits.
The Zoom net is one of my favorites.
I'll wait for aces. There's more nits than the regular tables anyway.
Yeah. So. I love the Zoom net because this guy is literally just like, I don't have to play this hand because I can get dealt another one straight away.
Yeah.
And whenever your opponent's reasoning has nothing to do with EV, that's pretty sweet for Hero. That's good for us.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had a couple of hands you wanted to share with me and with the audience today, right?
So these are 50 an L regular tables.
Sure.
And this one, now, my strategy may be bad on this, but it just sort of fried my brain a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm on the button.
Mm-hmm.
And I have king 9 off, and I'm min open. Okay.
Okay. So far, so good. I like it.
Yeah.
As long as there are no drillers or fish in the blinds or players that call too much and fold the flop, then I like it.
It's a pretty reggy table actually.
All right then.
And then a pretty solid reg with a small blind 3-bet of 12. Mm-hmm. 3-bets me. Mm-hmm. To $4, and they have a fold to 4-bet of 60%.
Sample on that, do you know?
Yeah, like massive. Huge.
Okay, cool.
So it's reliable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decide, I think king 9 is right at the bottom of my 4-bet bluff range.
Okay, yeah.
So I 4-bet.
And you've worked out your combos there so that you're not folding to 5 bets a disproportionate amount.
Well, this is what's interesting about this hand, and this is kind of what I wanted to speak about. So he's made it 4, I've made it 9.
Okay.
So I double his 1BB.
Yep.
And they flat.
Okay. So we talk about pre-flop first then.
Yeah.
It depends what you're flatting and what your 4-bet value range is. If you're 4-betting something like standard, like I guess 10s plus or jacks plus ace queen or jacks plus ace king, say, let's just start off kind of snug because it's 50 an L. I don't think people 5-bet all that much. So if we start off with jacks plus ace king, we have 40 value combos. For this price, 5-bet shoving hands like pocket 8s and 9s and stuff like that, which you want to kind of make your opponent indifferent to. What I do here is try and make it villain indifferent to shoving the kind of best parts of a light shoving range, like the highest equity when called parts of a bluff shoving range, so something like 8s, I suppose. You want to make him indifferent to that. If he shoves 8s there, he's going to need somewhere around kind of high 50s, low 60s in fold equity, I think, from that stack to risk reward ratio. So what you want to do is just be bluffing slightly more combos than your value betting there. So you want probably around sort of 50 combos of bluffs in your range there or something like that. So I mean, if you're flatting like King Jack off, which I think you should, I think King 10 and King 9 off are 24 combos of bluffs already. They make a lot of sense. And then you could add in some suited King X, some offsuit aces as well, like wheel aces would be okay, something like that. Just build the combos up and just make sure you're not doing it with like loads of offsuit kings and aces, because then you will be way bluff heavy and light 5 betting will be very good against you. You might not get exploited right now, but it will at some point, and these numbers compile on your opponent's HUDs as well. So just make sure that's all in line pre-flop.
Yeah. I think this is something I need to look into, but it's roughly 2-to-1 ratio of 4 bets. So I'm probably a little unbalanced.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, you're probably overfolding to 5 bets, which means that the guys who see that are the guys that notice that you 4-bet a lot can exploit you. So I would actually rein that in, and I would only use that 2-to-1 ratio against guys who you think are more ABC, like they're more zoom nitish.
Yeah.
Against them, I would 4-bet bluff more, but against the aware alert regs, I think you will get exploited for that these days.
Okay, cool. This is good. So he's called the 4-bet, and the flop is 8-4-6 rainbow. And I choose to c-bet.
Okay.
And I bet 10 into 18, 1850, because I think they've got a lot of ace queens and hands like that, possibly 9s and 10s. I don't know.
Yeah, like suited broadways. I mean, you will see some random aces and stuff here sometimes, but for the most part, you'll see a lot of ace queen, ace jack suited, king queen suited, 9s, 10s. These kind of hands. Personally, I prefer just jamming 9s and 10s over the average 50 no limit regs 4-bets because they can be too bluff heavy a lot. But a lot of people will flat them nevertheless. Your range here is going to miss the hell out of this flop though, for the most part, if you're using 2-to-1 bluffs, which is another problem, is when you do get flatted, you end up with huge amounts of air on the flop, which is kind of difficult to play out of position. Oh no, you're in position, you're already your button.
I'm in position, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so in position, you can probably do something like c-bet everything pretty small on the flop, because you do get some folds there, and people do fold a bit much to the really small c-bet. So as long as your c-bet is really small, a quarter pot, so you can bet turn and river as well, and start off with that kind of balance strategy. If you start half potting it, your risk reward I think suffers a bit. And then your bluffing line is going to have to be shoving turn all the time when you want to be bluffing. You're not going to have much equity on this board to do it with. So I prefer a small strategy. I think.
Yeah, that's good, because I think that's a mistake of what I've done here. Yeah.
Have you half potted it?
I've half potted it. Yeah. Just over half pot.
Yeah, so you're setting up a turn shove, but that's still not ideal, because if you had a lot of semi bluffs in your range and the board was wetter, then two things. One, your value hands want to get value more urgently and they're okay going bet jam, but on 8-4-2 rainbow or whatever it was, you don't have as much urgency for value, and secondly, you don't have semi bluffs that are okay just shoving the turn, because the hands that are going to have to pot shove the turn are literally going to need close to 50% in a vacuum fold equity to do it, because their equity when called is so low. So I'd be a bit careful there. I think the small jam for half pot line is probably a better bluff line there, and a better value line as well. It's just better for your range. So I like playing like that in the 4-bet pot here.
Cool. Okay, good.
In terms of how wide you c-bet, it kind of depends how you expect villains to react. I mean, I would be careful again. His range is very defined here, and he has a lot of showdown value, even if it's just ace high. These days, people call ace queen on this flop. So I'd be careful about the amount of your range that you actually bet here. I would bet some hands for value probably, and might even be... You could bet everything really small on the flop, I suppose, and go from there, but just make sure that your turn bluffing range doesn't get too out of line if you do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. The bet sizing here, that makes sense. I'm pretty wide here as well. Definitely on this board. Yeah. This villain knows this.
Okay, so you've got some history.
Well, no, but I'll tell you then. So then he calls,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 8-4-6-8. There is a backdoor diamond draw, but so then I've now set up for a river a turn shove,
Yeah.
and I do shove,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably a bit spewy. But
yeah, I mean, your king blocker's not that useful in this situation. Like, one thing you can do against villains who actually flat 4-bets, I'd be like changing my range around and like moving a bit away from blockers to more playable hands like suited cards and board coverage post flop, because of just having a horde of offsuit kings in your range is not very useful if people are flatting. It's better for pure blocker power. So one thing I'd say going back to pre here is like adjust your range in that way so you don't end up on the turn with just like king rag all the time, because that's just not very easy to balance at all. So yeah, like when you shove this turn, like it's okay in a vacuum. I don't think it's horrible, and we don't really know if it's good or bad in a vacuum, to be honest. So I would just try and play a balanced strategy. And you're shoving king 9 here. You don't have a very suitable blocker. I don't know what the rest of your 4-bet range looks like. If it's all just ace x and king x, then you would technically want to shove the stuff with the least showdown value, so like the king 9. But do you have any that blocks villain's calling range? Like, would it not be better to shove king 10 since that blocks pocket 10s or something like that?
yeah, no, I agree. I'm not like super proud about the way I play.
No, I know. I'm not trying to be like, yeah, why do you like this play, Elliot, you idiot? I'm more just being like, let's think about it together,
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think I'd probably check back ace king on the flop.
Yeah.
Don't need to bet, and I'm betting all my value combos, and then.
Well, if you check back ace king on the flop, like just be aware that if you're always folding it or always calling down with it, again, you're kind of playing an unbalanced strategy. So one thing you can do here is check back some aces as well, because it's really invulnerable. That way you can always call 3 streets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, when I shove turn, he insta called, literally insta called. And he had ace 4 of hearts.
So what even is that? Just a pair of 4s?
Pair of 4s.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, kind of weird hand. Like to 3-bet it in the first place, I don't like. In the big, is he big blind?
He's small blind.
Okay, I don't mind it then.
No, I'd 3-bet ace 4.
Yeah, in the small blind, sure. In the big blind, I would just call it. Right, and then he check calls flop. That seems normal. He check calls turn.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's probably not bad, to be honest, if he thinks the population can bluff here.
Well, he's got a sample size on me, because I then wrote in the chat like, wow, good call, blah blah blah, or something like this, and he just put LOL, you're so unbalanced.
That's always bad when someone says that to you.
And I was just like, oh my god. And then I was like, I said, well, how come? And he goes, what, you're over 4-betting. And he says, on this board, I was going to check jam.
Yep.
I was going to check jam flop, but when I hit the board, I was just going to call down.
Yeah.
So he knew exactly what he was going to do, and he just owned me.
Right, so he's already got a read that your range is just too bluff heavy pre-flop.
Yeah.
And on a board like that, your range is horribly weak, like we said. And so he's playing, like, his strategy is super exploitative. Like, he's just check jamming all his air and, like, check calling his value hands, but it might be killing you,
Yeah, well, he's just one level above me. He's two, because I said, why not 5-bet jam ace 4 suited? And he said, he says, jamming there is for newbies. He says, I can make more money by check jamming the flop. And I just walked away like, oh god, I suck.
Well, that may or may not be true, because you do actually hit flops there as well, and he doesn't know how you play post flop. So I mean, honestly, I don't think it's obvious that he makes more money by flatting cold calling out of position there. It depends kind of how you play post flop. If he's inferring that you're going to be like just c-betting all the time or something for that size, then yeah, okay, I like his flat if he knows that, because I think your c-bet strategy is also ridiculously unbalanced. But if he doesn't, then jamming pre is quite lucrative too, with like 66% fold equity and equity when called.
Yeah. My default play there would be, if I saw the stats that he had on me, I would jam ace 4 there.
Yeah, same here, unless I had some read post flop. But it's interesting, certainly. So yeah, that's why you do have to be careful when you step up to these games and you're playing against people that have got a bit more of a clue how to interpret balance, and he sees that you're 4-betting too much, so he's starting to just 3-bet a linear range and over-defend it massively, and then look to just never fold post-flop, basically, which, you know, if you knew he was doing that, you could exploit him even more heavily, but you're not going to know unless he's kind enough to tell you. So,
Well, he was very nice actually, and he just sort of explained, and he said that he's like a 100 NL player.
right.
He just came down to 50 to, stack me.
Sure.
But,
I like when people say that. Normally I play 600 NL. I'm just playing 50 NL because I'm on my cousin's PC, just like weird stuff like that. Like, sure, mate.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay. But it's an interesting hand, is it? And to actually have someone explain their
Yeah, definitely interesting. And just it makes you aware of how imbalanced you are playing that spot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It really highlighted because that is just he just took an exploited line.
Right, and it's okay to be unbalanced if you're doing it for gain, but you're not doing that for any gain. You weren't doing that because you thought villain would overfold on the flop to a half pot c-bet, where you were just doing that as default, and it was unbalanced for the sake of it. Yeah, it was unbalanced for the sake of it, and that's the problem. It's not for any reason that justifies the unbalance. It's not that you should never be unbalanced. It's just that you need to know that the exploitative gain from that outweighs the counter-exploitative risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the last hand? Let's wrap up with that.
Do you want to do the last one? Okay.
Quickly, yeah.
All right, this is interesting. So, what I found as well is that the people who are killing it at 50 NL are the lags, like the 30, the 30.
Definitely.
They just kill it. Because I got a pretty large sample of 50, so I know that they're doing it. But there's this really interesting player called Midnight Toker, and he just...
Oh, he's been crushing for years, Midnight Toker.
He is just killing it. Mm-hmm. And but he's so frustrating to play against, and he's just, brilliant. So anyway, this is this hand with Midnight Toker. Fish, so 50 NL again, fish limps under the gun. Mm-hmm. Midnight Toker limps behind. Mm-hmm. I'm in the small blind with King Jack off.
Okay.
And so I don't really want to go multi-way here. So I decide to ISO the fish.
Sure.
I actually ISO pretty big. So I actually ISO 350 because I want to get the fish heads up.
Like seven big blinds.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be okay. Just, are you small blind or big blind?
Small blind.
Right, the problem with it is the big blind can like abuse you for this if you're doing it too wide or with too many hands you can't defend. Like going 7x there is pretty dodgy if the big blind can like 3-bet light and stuff like that because he has position on you and not that much of your range is going to be able to call out a position. So it's possible that you can get exploited there, but again, just make sure that your range shouldn't be super wide, so you might be all right doing it.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I think yeah.
Just be aware of that.
Yeah.
And Midnight Toker should be capped when he limps behind.
This is what I'm thinking. So, what happens is the fish folds and Midnight Toker calls. Okay. So he's in position on the button. Mm-hmm. We have King Jack. I'm on King Jack off. Ace 5-7 rainbow. Mm-hmm. And I decide to c-bet because I can't see there being many aces in his range, and I have a lot of aces in
I mean, your range is so ace-x heavy that even though he has position, I think you can just range bet this flop because your range is just so incredibly ace-x heavy.
Yeah. So I bet 450 into 8, which I think is fine. I think it's a reasonable sizing.
Yeah.
And they flat.
Okay.
Flats. So I'm like, okay. And then the turn is a jack. So I have a jack.
Yeah.
So I decide to check call turn.
Good, I love it because like his range shouldn't be that ace-x heavy because he should be isolating most of his ace-x. He can have sets that he's slow playing, or he can have floats. So I think his range is really polarized. So what do you want to do against a polar range? Well, you want to check call because there's not going to be like many hands that are going to like check back for showdown value or anything. He's betting the turn a lot here when you check, and you're going to be fine, I think, check calling King Jack. Whether you want to call river as well, I mean, I would check a lot of my stuff on the turn. If I was going to be balanced, I might check call turn, check fold river with King Jack and just call down my ace-x. Or something like that. I don't know, but I'm at least check calling turn here, yeah.
So I check. He bets 8 into 17, and then I call.
Yep.
And then it says ace 5-7 jack 8 is the river, and I check again. So the pot is 33, and he bets 24 into 33.
Yeah.
Sigh. Which I need roughly 30%, something like that.
Just go over the board again for the listeners.
Okay, so I have King Jack off.
Yep.
And it's ace 5, 7, Jack, 8, and it's all rainbow.
Okay.
And then the pot is 33, and he bets 24 into 33, so roughly 30% equity, and it's close.
I mean, yeah. I mean, in a vacuum, it's not obvious at all what to do because we don't know his bluffing frequency. But what we do know is that if we check call the turn with Ace X here as well, then we can fold King Jack and not worry about it too much. So as long as you play in a balanced way here, like if he's bluffing, what's his river sizing?
24 into 33, so it's pretty big.
Right,
like
so he's betting 24 into 33, which is 24 into 57 risk reward. So he needs like 42% fold equity here. So if you're just calling like 60% of your range on your turn checking range, your turn check calling range on the river, then you're making him indifferent to bluffing you, and that's fine because we don't know what his bluffing frequencies actually are here. If you want to go down the route of like, okay, Midnight Toke is super aggressive, so he's probably over bluffing the river, then you can call, but that's a little dodgy. I don't know if we can really make that inference. So I would just fold unless I knew that. I don't know much about his game. I know he's good, but I don't know if he's actually over bluffing the river there. Like if he's just floating the hell out of the flop and then half point turn betting river, I don't know. I kind of doubt that he's just over bluffing there mindlessly, honestly, because I think a lot of regs don't fold river after they check call turn. So I would just fold King Jack and call down with Ace X because then I block his 2-pair if he has limping suited aces there and stuff like that, and much rather call with Ace X. So if you call, just bear in mind that you're overcalling your range on the river. If you fold, it's perfectly balanced.
Yeah, I folded, yeah.
Okay, fine. I think you played the hand fine. I think there's no big deal.
Because he's the kind of player who'll just mess with your mind. Because I think he's just someone who smashes weak regs all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're unbalanced, I'm sure he will smash you. He'll do things to try and make you unbalanced, then readjust to smash you. So a good strategy there then is just to not leave the little safety net of balance. Just stay in your balanced cocoon until you know what he's doing and then step out of it. That's a good way to just make sure he doesn't kill you long term.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. Those were some interesting spots. I'm glad to hear you've had success.
Thank you.
And best of luck adjusting to those tougher games. I think you're on the right track. Just work on that balanced, that kind of launchpad strategy before you go into exploitative territory.
Cool.
All right, cool, man. We'll get you back on and check in with you in a while. All the best.
Cool, thanks.
If you want to go down Elliot's road and seek me out for coaching, guys, carrotcorner.com is the place to check out the packages, and admin@carrotcorner.com is the email address that you can shoot me a message to if you have any questions, concerns, or queries about coaching or anything else, podcast ideas, whatever. See you guys on the next one. Book should be out in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. I'll do an update next week with another segment from that. So run good in the meantime.